Hi everyone, this is Teresa Green from Slow Paths Wellness, and I'm doing this in my car, so I might have a little trouble keeping the phone as perfectly still as I'd like, but let's see how it goes. Today I'd like to talk about what to do when you're having some kind of overwhelming emotional event happening, but you don't want to have it just completely wear you out. Now right now, there's a lot of things going on in the world. There's war, and there's some friends of mine have had a daughter who's been kidnapped, and there's just been a lot of things that have happened that have been very stressful. Not in my own life, thankfully, but around me. There's people who are sick, and there are people who are grieving, and there's just a lot of pain out there. And it's perfectly natural. I feel very empathetic about it, and sometimes I wake up at night and I'll be feeling for some of the things that different people I know are going through. And I bet a lot of other people out there who are watching this video are doing the same thing, because that's a completely normal and appropriate human response to somebody else's suffering. And sometimes, in the face of that, it's almost hard to enjoy something in our own life, even if we're fairly far removed from the people who are suffering. It's very hard to say, oh, what a beautiful day this is. We know that, someone is just grieving a deep, deep loss, or is terrified of some news that they've gotten, or is, in danger, their life's in danger, or something like that. But I wanted to, in this Mindfulness Monday video, I wanted to suggest that it's a bad idea to wear yourself out, especially if you're not right in the middle of things, but maybe even more importantly if you are, to try to find a way to give yourself some space to be able to have a calm time, a time that's not all wrapped up in pain or grief or anger or fear, as much as is possible. And also to be very compassionate with yourself, because sometimes it's really hard to give yourself that kind of break, especially if you're one of the major players in some kind of major emotional event going on in your life right now. So mindfulness can help. Mindfulness is partly the ability to bring yourself into the moment, not projecting into what could happen in the future that might be frightening or bad, or what has already happened in the past that might be painful in some way. Mindfulness is letting yourself be right in the moment. And so there's some all kinds of different ways to do that. I like just having your people concentrate on the different parts of their body. And I have a whole video just of that, but we can do a quick version right now so you can kind of get a feel for how it feels. And if you like it, there's a whole video that's a body scan video, and that's in my Mindful Monday playlist. If you just go onto my YouTube channel and look for Mindful Monday and look for the body scan, that should be pretty easy to find. But for right now, just close your eyes and just bring your awareness. Start at the top of your head, and for me, I do it by actually placing my hand kind of on each area, because it makes it a little easier for me to focus. So take a couple deep breaths. And now bring your awareness to the top of your head. You don't necessarily have to try to do anything. If you want to feel it relax, you can sort of picture, as we go to each area, either a rubber band stretched really tight and that's releasing and becoming loose, or a fist that's opening up. But you can also just notice what's there without focusing on it. It's like just kind of, okay, my awareness is at my head. I don't necessarily notice what it feels like as far as trying to describe it, but just like if I put my hand there, okay, I notice what's there. There's that. And then as you notice, you go from the top of your head to your forehead, to your eyes, to your nose, across your cheeks, to your jaw, and then to your mouth, your tongue, your chin, and the back of your head, the back of your neck, and your throat, and your upper chest, going across to your shoulders on each side, and then down your arms to each elbow, and then down your arms, your forearms to your wrists, and then from your wrists to the top of your hand, to your palm, and then each of your fingers, your thumbs and your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, and your little finger. And come back up. You go from your chest to your upper back, And just bring your awareness to each of these places. Now along your rib cage and your middle abdomen and your middle back. And then down your stomach and your belly and your lower abdomen and your low back. And down to your hips and your legs, down from your hips to your knees on the front and the back. From your knees down your shins and your calves and the front and back on the lower part of your legs. Down to your ankles. And then to the upper part of your foot, the top of your foot, bottom of your foot, your heel, and then your toes, your first toes, second toes, third toes, fourth toes, and fifth toes. Now take a couple deep breaths. There you go. And as you do that, just notice how your perspective has shifted a little bit. For most people it does. If not, you can try it again later on. But it helps you be right here in the moment. And that helps you pull away from anything going on in your head from the past or the future. So that's one thing you can do when you feel like the events going on that your mind is focusing on are overwhelming or taxing you too much. Another thing you can do that's a really neat idea is take the idea that's bothering you or take the idea that's kind of stealing your focus from the moment, and you go ahead and just find something like that right now. You can just pick something it can be good or bad, doesn't matter. We're just trying to get something from where your mind is not in the moment and move it to the moment. So picture that thing, that idea, that feeling, memory, whatever it is that's based in something not going on here in this moment. And picture it however you picture it. It can be, maybe right in front of you, maybe color, maybe, something that's you're seeing as if you're seeing it from your eyes or seeing it from yourself in it, whichever. But as you picture it, I want you to imagine that the tint focus, the color, is getting duller, more dull in that picture. And now picture it as if it has a frame around it, if it doesn't already. Now shrink the frame down. So it's a smaller picture. And now make it in black and white. And now move it down to the corner of your eye. And you can pick whichever side you want, left or right. We'll see which side it kind of goes to. And now, so it's going to be kind of like a little, like an ad, one of those little ads on the pop-up things that come up. And, at first you might notice it, but then you kind of ignore it. And so I want you to picture any sound that's associated with it getting quieter and quieter and quieter. And now, in the space that you have now, the kind of your view screen sort of idea, picture picture the present moment. Just see what's around you. Notice the colors in the plants, or people that you care about, if they're right there with you, if it's in this moment. Picture just where you are. I'm in my car, so picture the steering wheel, or picture the little handhold over here. Or, I'm not picturing it, I'm looking at it. See what you're actually looking at. And that's a way to take some of the intensity off of what's going on if for some reason it's something you really don't know how to put down. There are other variations of this, or you can imagine that what you have is something you're looking at in a folder, and you can close the folder and put it away in your mind. And any of those things will help you take something that your brain is focused on, but is focused on it too much so that you're kind of worn out and you can't really bring your best if it's a problem or whatever. You can't bring your best to the thing that you're over-focusing on. And so you find ways to move it out of your awareness for a little bit. And once you've done that, what I suggest is then to find something you enjoy. And just to enjoy something for as long as you can. Now, like I said, if you're in the middle of some major big event going on in your life that's really hard, you may have to do this in 1-minute increments. But every minute you can give yourself that you're giving yourself a break from your stress or a break from whatever it is that's going on is a minute that your nervous system can regroup, and then you can go back. So if you're like grieving a loss, and you just feel like you've just cried yourself out, but you just keep having memories of whatever it is that you lost. Some of these ideas, the mindfulness body scan exercise, or the taking the picture of the person or thing that you lost and shrinking it down and really focusing on what's right in front of you, of really taking the time to enjoy something while you're in setting, saying, the loss is kind of there in the background, but you're going to enjoy, the food or the music or whatever it is that you can enjoy right here in this moment. It gives your nervous system a break. And then you can always come back. You can always come back and say, I still have grief to process, or I'm really angry about this, or I'm, whatever emotion it is. I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm afraid, whatever that is. You can still go back and work with that. It's a healthy kind of compartmentalizing. And in Chinese medicine, we talk a lot about when your shin is unfocused or is focused on something that's very difficult. That's what we call the mind, basically, mind and emotions. That it stresses your body, it pulls all of your energy away, and it can make you sick. So doing this kind of exercise where you're using any method that works for you to get yourself out of whatever it is that your brain is fixated on, even if it's something that makes a lot of sense to be fixated on, to give yourself a break from that for however long you can, however long it works for you to do that, is very healthy. And then just as a quick little reminder or caveat or, extra thing, I'd like to say also remember, because I know sometimes for me, if I'm concerned about someone else's suffering, I kind of feel guilty about pulling myself away from it. I feel like, why they don't get to do that necessarily, so why should I? Well, the thing is, me suffering on behalf of somebody else doesn't really help them. It just kind of makes it about me. If if I know someone is hurting and I'm just imagining how they're hurting and imagining how hard it is and imagining what they're going through, I'm really not helping them at all. I mean, beyond just the idea of being able to empathize. I can take the idea of, I understand, from my case, if someone I know has cancer. I've had cancer. I know the fear. I know, how it stays with you. I know the residual pain after treatments and things. And I can definitely feel for them. And I can have a very emotional response to them. And I can try to share that, I can validate how they feel and I can be there with them and I can empathize because I really do understand, at least, to the extent that any one person can understand someone else's experience. I understand what it's like. But if I go from that, where I'm able to be there with someone and sort of support them as they feel the things that they're going through in that moment, if I go from that to when I leave them, I'm at home and I'm thinking about and remembering, oh no, I bet I bet they're suffering from this and I bet they're feeling that and oh, isn't this horrible? I've kind of made their suffering about me. And it might mean that I have my own work that I need to work on where I haven't processed my own grief. Or it might just be that I've allowed my brain to fixate on something because I feel like it's disloyal to step away from their suffering long enough for my nervous system to recover. But that's not true. It's actually very healthy to give your system a break because that helps you refill your cup and then you're able to go back to that person if that's appropriate or what you want to do, and you can give to them again because you haven't been suffering the whole time. You've given yourself some time to enjoy things. You've given yourself some time to recharge. You've given yourself some time to become stronger, and that way you're able to give them the gift of your stability. So the points for today are: 1, it's very natural to feel for other people's pain. It's very natural to feel your own pain. It's very natural to kind of try on some of the things someone else is feeling if you hurt for them and you don't want them to suffer and you really feel for them and identify with someone. But it's not healthy to do that all the time. It wears you out. It hurts your nervous system. It can make it very, very difficult for you to continue living your life, and it can make it very difficult for you to help somebody else. Some of the ways that you can help pull your brain out of that focus of someone else's suffering and you kind of taking it on in a way that's not really healthy are a body scan, where you just bring your attention to each part of your body and go all the way down your body. It's one method. Another one is to picture the thing in your mind, the kind of scenario that you're concerned about or worried about. Picture it as you just would normally picture it, and then dull the color, put a frame around it, shrink it in your mind's eye, and then put the widescreen view of your life just as where you are right now. So you don't have to imagine that. You just see where you are right this minute, and you kind of can have that little version of the thing you were over-focused on just sort of still there. And then you can even picture taking that and sitting it in a little folder, closing the folder, and setting it aside for a little while. And you can also, after you've done that part, you can also really focus on enjoying or noticing things in your present. So those are some tips to help you when you feel overwhelmed by the suffering or struggles that someone else is going through, and that you're feeling kind of a hard time disengaging from it. Maybe either because you over-identify with what's going on with them, or because you feel guilty for trying to have some respite and some enjoyment in yourself when you know there are people suffering very deeply, or if you have some other processing that you need to do. And if that's the case, then you probably need to talk to either a therapist or a coach, or at least a good friend or someone in a church group or other support kind of group kind of thing. So this is Mindful Monday. And I wish you, sorry about that, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you next week.